You ever just sit in the woods and realize how wrong the silence feels? Not scary, just off. Like something's waiting for you to notice it. Not staring, not moving, just there. The kind of quiet that makes you second-guess things you normally don't think about, like whether that trail was always there, or why the wind feels like it's only blowing behind your neck. I've been collecting stories like that, the ones people don't tell in public. Not because they're unbelievable, just because no one wants to be the first to admit they believe it. This is Volume 2. 7 stories. No jump scares, no loud music. Just a slow kind of dread that gets under your skin and sits there. Quiet. If that's your thing, you can tap like now so you don't forget. Subscribe if you want more. I post when I can. No pressure. All right. Settle in. Let's get to it. You ever stare into the woods and feel like something's staring back, but worse than that? Like it's learning you, studying the rhythm of your breathing, the angle of your shoulders when you're about to speak, the way your foot presses down heavier when you're lying. That kind of watching. It happened to me last winter at Hollow Pine, and I think it's still happening. That's why I'm writing this. Not for proof, just, could someone tell me if my right eye still blinks? I'm serious. I can't tell anymore. The Hollow Pine watch station's not what you'd call glamorous. It's a 2-story slab of wood and rusted piping plopped into 6 miles of forest without cell service or asphalt. A single power line snakes from the main road to the generator shed. We've got cameras on each side, a crackly CB radio, and a steel coffee pot that's more stains than steel. That night, it was just me and Mike on shift. Mike took the first patrol northbound trail check near the broken tool shed, where hikers dump weird trash sometimes. I stayed inside feet on desk black coffee, in hand combing through wildlife reports about some bear tracks that had toes too long. The clock read 4:43 a.m. when I heard a sound like something sharp and fast slicing past my right ear. But no gust, no tree branch, not even the low whistle you get when the wind snakes between window gaps. Just a second of pressure. Then 2 sharp knocks on the rear glass pane. Tap, tap. I didn't move for 5 seconds. Coffee still halfway to my lips' heartbeat, ticking against my jaw. Then I stood, grabbed the flashlight, and opened the back door. Nothing. The woods looked dead. Still. Not just quiet, but paralyzed. The kind of silence you don't notice until it's choking your ears. I scanned the tree line with the flashlight. No animals. No man. But I swear on my bones I felt it. That presence, like someone was standing 3 feet away, staring directly at me, not moving. Not intending anything, just observing. There were no eyes in the dark, no reflection. But it wasn't about seeing, it was about being seen. I backed inside, shut the door, locked it. The coyotes had been yapping all night before that. Now they were gone. The kind of gone that feels intentional, like someone said, hush, and everything listened. At 2:57, the radio buzzed. Mike. His voice was hushed, and not from fear, from instinct. There's a guy out here, he whispered. Not a hiker. Standing 10, maybe 20 feet away, just still. Wearing a hat, wide-brimmed. Old. He's looking right at me. Can you describe him? I asked. I tried flashing my light at him. He didn't flinch, didn't blink. When I blinked, he turned around, walked away into the spot where I was standing before. I told him to run. Screw protocol. Just get back. When he came bursting through the trees and up the wooden steps, I opened the door and paused. There on the top stair, a single wet footprint, boot-sized, facing the door. But not Mike's. His boots were dry. We locked everything, curtains drawn, every exterior light shut off. Only the central ceiling bulb stayed on, casting a warm yellow dome over the room, like we were trying to trap safety in glass. We didn't talk for a while, but we heard the footsteps around the building, not stomping, not sneaking, just light jogging, pacing, almost rhythmic. Mike muttered, "If he wanted in, why not just smash a window?" I swallowed and answered without thinking, because he doesn't want in. He's still learning how. I checked the external cams, or tried to. The north cam was angled skyward. It had been manually rotated 180 degrees, pointing into empty blackness. We didn't touch it. Mike unlocked the weapons cabinet, pulled out the old Beretta. I told him to put it away. "You don't point a gun at something you don't understand," I said. But his hands were shaking, not from nerves, from pulse direction. That sounds crazy, but I swear the blood in his wrists wasn't pulsing toward his fingertips. It was retracting, beating backwards. Then came the scraping. "Breathe through. Feel March 15 a.m. A sound like thin razors dragged across the outer glass, but no marks, no pressure, just a sound like someone wanted us to hear it, not see it. And then, the laugh. Not out loud, not with lungs, not even echoing in the room. It came from inside our heads, a dry, low chuckle that didn't push air or move lips. It matched my own breath, the inhale, the exhale, a mimicry so perfect it felt like being hollowed. Mike started muttering prayers. I watched the clock. I don't even know why. Maybe I thought the dawn would come early if I begged hard enough. Maybe I thought it wouldn't come at all. I asked him if he remembered blinking since he got back. He didn't answer, just stared at the door, stared. 3:48 a.m. I blinked, and in that half second, the bulb above us flickered. Mike whispered, "Did you see that I did?" But I also saw something else. In the flash of darkness for a split second, there was a face behind the curtain, pressed flat. No eyes, just shadow sockets, and a hat. A wide-brimmed hat like from an old photo. I don't know how long we sat there. But when the sun came, it didn't feel warm. It felt like someone opened the oven door just to see if we were cooked. Mike didn't stay. He quit the next day. I never blamed him. But I stayed. I still do shifts at Hollow Pine. And something's wrong. Not with the woods, with me. I can't tell if my right eye still blinks. I've tried filming it, holding mirrors, but I always blink both. Or I think I do. And sometimes I catch myself pausing, mid-step, mid-sentence, just standing, still, wearing my ranger cap, staring forward. And once, just once, I saw a video still from that night, one of the internal cameras. During the flicker, it caught me facing Mike, but Mike swears he was looking at the back of my head at the time. I don't know which is worse, that I imagined it, or that something's wearing my face now, and it still doesn't blink. Mike moved to Arizona. Desert Ranger duty, no woods, no trees. I got a postcard 6 months later, one of those big cartoon ones with a smiling cactus and sunglasses. No return address, just a message scrawled across the back. He doesn't like dry places. Stay inland. Don't ever look at reflections after 3 a.m. And Chris, if the man in the hat ever nods, don't nod back. I burned the card. That was a year ago. I've tried to rationalize it. Maybe it was a prank. Maybe we were both sleep-deprived, hallucinating from stress or something in the vents. But I've seen enough, heard enough since that night to stop using the word maybe. I started noticing things on later shifts. Little things. My boots by the door would be turned a few degrees toward the forest. My thermos lid would be twisted open when I swore I shut it. One night, I woke up at my desk with a cramp in my fingers. My hand had been clutching a note I didn't write. It said, try blinking slower. You'll see him better. I used to think the scariest part was being watched. Now I think it's the being learned. There's a difference. A predator watches. A predator has purpose. But this thing, whatever wears that hat, whatever moved like Mike, whatever, stood exactly where he had been. It doesn't have intent. It has interest. That's worse. I started testing myself, counting the seconds between blinks, filming myself on old camcorders that don't upload to the cloud. One night, I watched back 4 hours of footage, just static and breathing and coffee sips, until at exactly 3:02, I turned toward the camera. The footage didn't glitch. I just turned, slowly, smoothly. My eyes stared directly into the lens. No expression, and didn't blink for 12 full minutes. But I don't remember that. I remember microwaving soup. I remember whistling. I remember blinking. Then the camera cut. My boss said I've become jumpy, that I need to take some damn vacation. I told her there's too much paperwork. Truth is, I can't be gone too long. Not from this place. Not since the forest started, copying me. There are nights now when I think I see myself standing just past the floodlights. Not directly in the beam. Not fully shadowed. Just where the cones of vision begin to blur. It's always from the right side. Always facing left. One night I walked outside. I don't even remember doing it. Just found myself on the porch keys, still inside door locked. I looked at the glass. My reflection wasn't blinking. It just stared, like it was waiting for me to do something first. So I stood there and waited too. It was a contest, I guess. I don't know who won. Maybe neither of us blinked. Maybe that's when I lost. Now it's harder to remember if I've blinked at all. Sometimes my eyes sting like they're dry, but the mirror says they're wet. Sometimes my co-workers say I don't seem present, like I'm lagging behind in conversation. Like I'm pausing just long enough for something else to catch up. One of them asked if I was doing okay. I said, yeah. But my voice sounded off, like someone remembering how I say yeah, rather than actually meaning it. They gave me a strange look and walked away. There's a looped feed I keep running now. A 10-second delay on one of the interior cams. Just enough time to compare my movements, my blinks, my posture. Last week the feed glitched. It showed me at my desk. I wasn't there. I was in the bathroom. The timestamp matched. I've stopped checking that camera. I think the man in the hat doesn't need to watch anymore. I think he's done learning. I think he's figured out how to make something close enough. Close enough to sit here, to log in, to drink the same bitter coffee and press the same buttons and say the same morning to the shift change. Maybe it's not perfect. Maybe there's a glitch or two. A motion that's too smooth. A word that sounds memorized instead of spoken. A blink that doesn't happen. That's why I need help. If you ever see me out there, in uniform on the trail in a ranger's cap, do me a favor. Look at my eyes. And if only one of them blinks, don't nod. Don't wave. Don't speak. Just walk the other way. Because that means he got out. And I'm still here. Watching. Waiting. And not blinking. This one messed me up more than I thought it would. There's something about the idea of being studied that's way worse than just being chased, you know. Like, whatever was out there wasn't just trying to scare him. It was trying to become him. The slow footsteps, the unblinking stare, the part where it started copying, even the way he breathed that hit different. And I keep thinking about that one detail, not smashing the door, not attacking, just waiting. Because it didn't need to force its way in. It only needed time. just enough time to remember how you move, how you sound, how you blink. And if you're still here, listening, thank you. I don't make these stories for cheap jump scares. I make them because sometimes the things we think are fiction feel a little too real. If that got under your skin even a bit, do me a favor, hit like, so I know I'm not the only one losing sleep, and subscribe if you want to hear more of these. Trust me, this was only the beginning. We lived in a cabin, not the storybook kind. Long, narrow, rough pine boards on the outside, and colder than you'd expect for North Carolina in June. Our family owned a 550-acre farm in the foothills, but we weren't farmers. The land was mostly overgrown woods and fenced-off meadows. We had horses, yes, but my dad was a retired firefighter. Mum homeschooled me and my little sister Emma. The place was deep, too deep into the woods. One way in. Gravel path. No neighbors. No streetlights. At night, the forest turned black by 8:30. The only light came from inside the house, or if it was clear, from the moon squeezing between the pines. And sometimes not even the moon came. You don't know true darkness until you've stood alone in a house where even the air stops reflecting. Our living room had a huge window that ran almost the full length of the southern wall, 50 feet at least. Thick old glass framed by wood trim, looking straight into the tree line. My dad had built it that way on purpose. He used to say, "Why box yourself in when the world's right outside?" During the day it was beautiful. You'd see deer, the occasional fox, and sometimes Emma would stand with her hands to the glass and try to name the shapes in the bark. But at night, it turned into a wall of ink. Just a single sheet of darkness stretched from floor to ceiling, a mirror with no reflection. That summer, my cousin Lucas came to stay for a week. He was 15, a little older, a little bolder. He had that kind of confidence that only came from owning the newest gadgets and not yet being proven wrong by anything. He brought his Nintendo DS, a duffel bag of sour candy, and the kind of reckless attitude that makes you say, "We'll be fine," before anything even goes wrong. The first few nights were uneventful until we got lazy about the curtains. It was hot. No central air. Just fans, open windows, and mosquito nets. Lucas and I were sleeping in the living room, camped out on sleeping bags. It was closer to the screen door, better airflow. Mum let us drag the curtains back just a little on both ends of the glass wall to let the cross breeze in. Just a little, she warned. No need for strangers seeing in. We laughed. Who's gonna come through 600 acres of pitch-black woods at night? We left 2 slivers of the window exposed. Tiny gaps, a few inches wide. That was enough. It was 1:12 a.m. when Lucas nudged me. Not like a playful poke, but a sharp shove. I'd been half asleep, one arm under my head, the other dangling off the sleeping bag. The only light came from his DS screen, casting soft green-blue shadows on the ceiling. He didn't say anything at first, just turned the screen down and whispered, "Dude, look." I rolled onto my side, blinking. At first I didn't see it. The moonlight wasn't strong, just enough to give the trees that waxy shimmer. The air had gone still. Our fan had clicked off. No buzzing, no leaves rustling. Just one shape cutting through the grey blur of trees. Movement. A figure. Tall. Too tall. Not lanky, not cartoonish. Just wrongly assembled. Like the joints were spaced a little too far apart. Like whoever built it didn't understand human proportions. It was walking slow and sideways from left to right across the tree line, about 30 yards out. Not toward the house. Not away. Just parallel. Like it was tracing the edge of our vision. Like it had done this before. It passed one of the gaps in the curtain, Lucas froze. I held my breath. It didn't stop. Not yet. It kept moving slow with a kind of motion I can't describe right. Not limp, not fluid. Like its spine was doing the thinking and its limbs were just tagging along. Then it stopped, mid-step, and turned, and faced us. I couldn't see eyes. I don't think it had any. But I felt the gaze, a pressure like someone pressing cold fingers between my eyebrows. I couldn't move. My stomach twisted. The curtain gap was barely 3 inches wide, but I swear I could feel the air tighten between us and it. Like it had chosen exactly where to be, exactly where the line of sight would be clean. It stood that way for what felt like hours. Then it moved. No, not moved. It launched. From a dead standstill, it surged forward, straight toward the glass, not with running steps, but with a sliding, twitching crawl, like it was shoving its body forward with its spine instead of legs. The limbs were slack, dragging behind it, like they'd been broken and forgotten. It covered the distance in seconds. We screamed. Lucas threw the DS. I rolled sideways and grabbed for the light switch. Our feet slammed the hardwood like we were trying to break through it. My heel cracked against the coffee table. I couldn't feel it. Only heat. Heat and panic and this sound like something wet slapping against tile. The overhead flickered on. For a single perfect second, the entire living room was bathed in light, bright enough to see the sweat on each other's faces. And in that second, the thing hit the edge of the light and stopped, like it had hit a wall. Mom screamed upstairs. Dad was already moving, thudding down the stairs, barefoot, shotgun in hand, face pale and locked in. He yanked open the front door, aimed the barrel into the yard, shouted once. Nothing. Just quiet. A wrong kind of quiet. The forest didn't settle. It paused. No wind, no cicadas. Not even the creak of branches. But there was a smell. Sweat. Bitter, acidic sweat. Like 1,000 unwashed shirts wrung out into the air. Dad didn't say a word. He circled the porch once, then shut the door and double-latched it. He didn't sleep the rest of the night. Neither did we. The next morning he went outside to check the dirt. The ground was soft-rained earlier that week, and he found them. 2 sets of footprints. 1 set on the far left side of the window, 1 on the far right. Neither led in, neither led out. Just stood there. 1 pair, then another. Right where the curtain had been left open. We thought we saw it arrive, but it had already been watching. It was already there. Lucas turned pale, paler than I'd ever seen. He whispered, "If what ran last night wasn't the first thing that showed up, then who the hell was the first?" Dad didn't answer. That night, he nailed a sheet over the window. Didn't even bother with curtains, just plywood and screws. And then Lucas found the thing. It was tucked beneath the threshold between the welcome mat and the edge of the porch. A strand of black hair. Long, tangled with a thin wire twisted into the shape of a little stick figure, like a child's drawing of a person, but with arms too long and legs too wide. The wire had rust. The hair was damp. It smelled like old blood. No one in our house had black hair. Not even our dog. Dad didn't let Mum touch it. He used a shovel to carry it to the fire pit and burned it. Didn't say a word. Didn't tell the sheriff. Didn't call anyone. Just burned it and watched until it was dust. He stayed out there until morning. That was the last night Lucas ever visited. He stopped returning my calls. Never replied to letters. I think he wanted to believe that if he never spoke of it again, it wouldn't follow. Maybe he's right. I don't know. But I stayed. And I still live here. 10 years later. Different furniture. Different lights. But the same damn walls. And I still hang blackout curtains in every room. thick, floor to ceiling, double layered. Because I know now, it never tried to get in. It never had to. It just wanted me to look. And I did. That's all it took. One mistake, one blink, one breath. So if you ever feel a cold draft on your cheek or hear your curtains flutter when no windows are open, don't look, don't check, don't move. Because it doesn't need to be invited. It just needs that moment, that brief human moment where you forget you're not alone. It's not about what's outside. It's about what saw you first, and which part of you. It's learning to build. This one hit different. I grew up in the suburbs, nowhere near the woods, but there's something about this story that gets under your skin, because it's not just about what's out there. It's about the parts we don't think twice, about the little gaps in the curtains, the dark corners we never really look at. We always assume we're the ones doing the watching. But what if we're not? What if the second you think you're looking is the second something already finished looking at you? And the worst part, it didn't need to break in. It didn't need to speak or knock or scream. It just needed to be seen. That's what really stuck with me. That terrifying idea that attention, just attention, is permission. If you're still here, thanks for sticking around. I know these stories aren't easy to sit with, and I don't expect everyone to walk away feeling entertained. But if something in this one made you look over your shoulder, or rethink that crack in your blinds tonight, then it did its job. Do me a favor, hit like if you felt anything, and subscribe if you want more stories that don't just scare you, but stay with you. We've still got more to come, and not all of them wait outside the glass. I am Bella Martin. I was a second-year linguistics student in Paris when it happened. I'm saying that in past tense, not because I died, not officially, but because after that day I haven't really returned. Not to campus, not to myself. I haven't heard a church bell in almost 11 months. But when I close my eyes, I feel the back of my neck vibrate. It's not tinnitus. It's not trauma echo. It's the bell. The one no one else hears but I do. And it's getting closer. I used to go walking behind the student housing complex. There was a pine forest there, untouched, overgrown, steep in some places, but full of old trails. Not many students used it. A few joggers in the afternoon, but no one past dusk. The woods were too thick, no signal, and no lights. But I liked it. It was the only place the city couldn't follow me. If you went far enough, there was an abandoned artificial lake, a failed spa resort or wellness retreat. I never saw the buildings, just rebar, old cement foundations and rusted bolts sticking out of the ground like crooked teeth. But the lake was still there. Algae moss mosquitoes. Ugly. Still, it looked dead, and I liked that. It didn't ask anything of me. I used to sit on a half-submerged bench and watch dragonflies die in the water. I know how that sounds, but it was calm. Until the bell. The first time I thought it was my imagination. It didn't ring, it didn't echo, it just existed. Like it had always been there, and I was the last one to notice. A soft metal note. Not vibrating, not decaying. Just steady, like a tiny cowbell strung around the throat of something you'd never want to follow home. I felt it in my throat before I heard it in my ears. I remember looking down at the water and thinking that wasn't a sound, that was a presence. I got up. I went home. On the walk back, I passed what looked like a shredded trash bag by a tree root. I got closer. It was a beaver, or what was left of one. No head, no drag marks, No blood around the body, but dry brown crust over the chest like something had scooped out the organs with surgical skill. The ribs weren't broken. They were sliced, like bone had been separated clean from the inside. I stood there for a long time, took a picture, considered sending it to campus security. But the signal was dead, and honestly, I didn't think anyone would care. It was just an animal, just a thing that had the bad luck to be in the woods. I walked home. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying the shape of the wound. It didn't look like predation. It looked like selection, like something had chosen a piece of it and removed it with care. The next morning I went back. I needed to see it in daylight, but it was gone. Not dragged, not disturbed, just gone. The grass was flattened. There was a fur patch where it had been. But most disturbingly, there was a long, shallow furrow in the dirt, like something had pressed a blade sideways into the soil and dragged it back in a slow arc. The wound wasn't just in the animal, it was in the forest. A week later, it rained. I dreamed of the lake again. Except this time, I wasn't sitting. I was standing. And the water wasn't still, it was rising. And the bell was louder. It wasn't sweet, it was dense, it had weight. I woke up shaking. The rain hadn't stopped. But I pulled on boots and a coat and went walking anyway. I don't know why. Maybe I thought seeing the lake in daylight in the storm would shrink the fear. Maybe I wanted proof. I didn't get that far. About a third of the way through the trail, I hit something head-on. It was soft, slick. I screamed before I even understood. It was the beaver, except it wasn't on the ground. It was tied to a branch. No rope, no wire, just stuck, hung, like something had bent the limbs backwards and threaded the tendons through the bark. Its head was reattached, but not where it should have been. The skull had been stitched between the front paws upside down like a parody of a fetal position, and it was sewn with red thread. Not string, not yarn. Thread. Still wet. Still glistening. Like something had been feeding it blood to keep it pliable. The smell was immediate. Not rot. Not even decay. It smelled alive. Like spit and sweat and fur. I stumbled back. Slipped. Fell hard. Mud in my teeth. My ribs screamed. I looked up, and then came the bell. I don't know where it came from. It wasn't in front. It wasn't behind. It was just there, inside me. The note hit somewhere between my neck and my chest, and I felt my body react before my mind did. My fingers twitched. My knees buckled. My throat opened involuntarily like I was about to speak, but the only sound that came out was a wheeze. I scrambled up and ran. I didn't scream. I couldn't. The bell was using that part of me. I yanked my phone from my coat pocket and hit call. First contact, Mum. It barely rang. 1 bar. I don't know if she picked up or if the line just opened, but I shouted, "They're stitching it. They're putting it back wrong, Mum. The bell's walking behind me." I didn't say bell before that. I swear I didn't. But she heard it. I know she did because her voice cracked. She started crying. Not from confusion, from recognition. And then I heard my dad's voice yelling through the speaker. "Don't run. Bella, do not run. We're coming. Just stand still. Don't let it learn your stride." I dropped the phone. Or maybe it fell. I don't know. The rain was so heavy I couldn't feel what was mine anymore. I stopped running. Not because I wanted to, but because my legs didn't belong to me. The bell was in them now, ringing through the tendons, keeping pace with the wet heartbeat inside my spine. I stood still. I think I whispered. I don't remember the words, but something warm hit my back. Lights, car lights, Headlights. They burned through the trees like a rescue flare from another world. My parents found me. My mum got to me first. Her hands were shaking, but she didn't look surprised. My dad didn't ask questions. He just grabbed me by the waist and turned us all around. We ran back. I don't remember my feet touching the ground. I only remember the bell leaving my back. It didn't go away. It moved inward. It wasn't following anymore. It was residing. The whole way back, it didn't echo behind us. It pulsed in my lungs, like a second breath just slightly out of sync. We got to the car. My mum wrapped me in a blanket. My dad slammed the doors. No one said a word. We didn't go back to the apartment. We didn't go to the hospital. We went straight to his brother's cabin in Bourgogne, locked the gates, closed the shutters. I don't know how long we stayed. When the police finally followed up, they didn't find anything. No animal remains. No thread. No blood. The only thing they found was my coat folded neatly beneath a rock by the lake. It was dry. Bone dry. I hadn't taken it off. Ever. Not once. I hadn't even unzipped it. But there it was. Clean. Untouched. Smelling faintly of metal and cotton and a perfume I've never worn. My mum said she heard the bell through the phone for 3 minutes after the call dropped. It kept ringing, even after the screen went black, even after the battery died. It didn't echo like church bells. It clicked like bone, like something small enough to carry but old enough to own you. I saw a dozen doctors, audiologists, psychiatrists, neurologists. My ears are fine. My brain scan is clean. I passed every test, but I can't hear real bells anymore. Not from churches, not from phones, not even from videos. There's a hole in my hearing shaped exactly like that sound. But the inside of my skull, it hears fine, better than ever. And it doesn't stop, especially when I close my eyes. That's when I feel the skin behind my ears start to hum. That's when I see it again. Not the beaver, not the woods, but the hands. The ones without faces. Stitching, not in anger, not even with purpose, just with need. They sew because they must. They stitch because it's what they are. And in their palms now I see something new. Something folded. Fabric. Stitched down the middle. The last thing I wore. My coat. My name. My sound. There's something about sound-based horror that hits different. Like visual stuff, you can look away. You can close your eyes. But a sound, especially one that doesn't belong, one that doesn't even echo like it's supposed to, you can't turn your brain off from that. And this one, that bell, it didn't just follow her, it entered her. That's what's so unsettling to me. It's not just a haunting, it's a possession, but through resonance, through frequency, through attention. And that detail with the animal stitched wrong, reassembled like a joke told by something that doesn't laugh. That's the kind of creepy that sticks, because it's not trying to scare you in the moment. It's trying to change the way you think about things, about noise, about stillness, about being heard when you thought you were alone. If you're still here, thank you for listening all the way through. These stories are weird. They're not for everyone. But if this one made your skin crawl or made you pause before turning off the lights, go ahead and tap like. And if you want more of these stories that stay with you long after the screen goes black, subscribe. I've got more coming. Just listen closely. My name is Ellie Warren. I was 23 years old when I joined my first winter patrol in Denali National Park. I remember being proud. I'd trained for months, passed every stress test, aced my field navigation courses. I thought the only thing I had to fear was getting frostbite or maybe falling into a crevasse. But no one warns you about the things that leave no mark, the things that don't kill you. They just see you. And that's enough. They told us it was just a recon sweep. A cold weather trail inspection after satellite imagery caught something weird on the Stampede Trail circular frost disruptions, they said. Probably a lens flare or wind shear. I thought what could be worse than Alaska in January. I was wrong. What's worse is finding something that shouldn't be there, something that clearly moved but left no tracks. What's worse is realizing the snow's been disturbed in a way that doesn't make sense, that something large passed through and nothing followed. I went with Stan and Julia. Both experienced rangers, both quiet types, the kind that didn't joke about things unless they'd already survived them. I felt safe with them. That didn't last. On the second day, after a morning of radio silence and empty trails, we came across a clearing that wasn't on our topographic scans. Just white, perfect, undisturbed except for the center where something had been arranged. Bones, not scattered, not chewed, but placed. Circles within circles, little spirals made of bird bones, larger ones made from deer ribs, and in the center, a human skull. Yellowed, cracked, no jaw. The rest of the body was nowhere. All of it was threaded with dried sinew, tied like it had been pulled from the muscle while still warm. The loops weren't chaotic. They were deliberate, geometric, a message we couldn't read. Julia knelt down, traced one of the loops with a gloved hand, and said quietly, "This wasn't done in one night." She was right. Someone had practiced, rehearsed. This was something's craft, and whatever it was proud of its work. There were claw marks on nearby trees, high up at least 7 feet. Long, smooth tears like from a blade. No animal claws that clean, no teeth, no fur, no trails. Just a arrangement. That night we pitched camp in a pine gully. The snow insulated the sound. That's what I told myself when I first heard the tapping. Not loud, not erratic, just rhythmic, like a metronome. Tap, tap, tap. At first I thought it was ice shifting. Then I realized it was moving. Around the tent, not toward it. Not away, just around. Constant pace, constant spacing, like someone walking in a slow, perfect circle, drumming a single finger against the canvas every third step. I froze. I counted. 36 steps, a full orbit, and then again, and again. Julia whispered, "You hear it too." I nodded even though she couldn't see me. We didn't speak again, because something told us it wanted a response, and we weren't going to give it one. Morning came like a mercy. The sound had stopped sometime before dawn, but none of us had slept. One of the sleds was missing. The tracks it left behind were normal until the ridge. Then they stopped. No drag, no break. Just a sudden end, like the sled had vanished mid-glide. We checked for cliffs, holes, ice traps. Nothing. Julia muttered, "Nothing gets that clean." Stan checked the remaining gear. Compass spinning in tight circles. GPS frozen. We split to scout. Not far. Always within line of sight. I remember telling myself that we were still in control. Still doing our job. Still human. I saw something behind the trees. Tall, not moving, not watching. Just waiting. It wasn't hidden, but I couldn't see detail. The trees near it vibrated slightly, like something was breathing through the ground. And I felt it again. The tapping, not in my ears, in my ribs. A memory of movement. Stan called out. He'd found something. I ran. It was more bones. Human. Fresh. No head. The ribcage opened like a flower spine, curled inward. The sinew was still wet. Still warm. Stan didn't say a word. Just handed me the radio. It clicked static. Then something else. A voice. or something pretending to be one. Speaking syllables out of order, mimicking emotion but missing tone. Julia's name, my name again, drawn out like a question. We ran, not far, not fast, just back to the nearest mapped structure a cabin hunters used years ago. Julia bolted the door. Stan loaded his rifle. I held the flashlight, but it didn't help. The shadows were too deep, too alive. They shifted even when I didn't move. On the wall, the shadows took shape, mimicked our stances, then changed, grew, stretched, made new outlines from parts of ours. Julia whispered, "It's studying us." Then she shut up. No one moved. The tapping came again. Not on the walls this time, on the floorboards, like something had come up through the foundation. The knock passed under us in a circle, then another, then faster, like a dog chasing its own tail but with purpose. I blacked out for a second. When I woke, Julia was sitting against the door, pale, eyes unfocused. She looked like she'd forgotten her own name. That's when the air changed. I smelled blood. Metal. Wet leather. Stan's sleeping bag was empty, torn open from the inside. But there was no blood. Just a piece of his jacket looped perfectly around the bedpost like a ribbon. I turned to tell Julia and watched something pull her through the wall. Not the door. Not a window. The wall. A long arm slid between the boards, hooked her torso, and folded her through the gap. She didn't scream. There wasn't time. She was gone. Just gone. The air held the shape of her for half a second. Then, even that dissolved. I ran. No boots, no gear, just raw panic. I didn't pick a direction, I picked a feeling. I followed the coldest silence I could find. No sound, no rhythm, no pattern. I ended up in a split in the ice barely a meter wide. I wedged myself in, shut off my light, pressed my mouth against my own arm to keep from making sound. And then I saw them. The eyes. Yellow. Not glowing. Not searching. Just existing. They didn't look for me. They just looked at me. As if I was the last thing on a checklist. Not prey. Just a final step. Confirmation. They stayed for 10, maybe 20 seconds. Then gone. No wind, no crunch, no drag. The space where they'd been seemed emptier than the rest, like even light didn't want to go there. I stayed there until daylight, crawled back. I don't remember getting to the ranger station. Someone found me. My lips were blue. My fingers bled from frostbite. They said I was mumbling numbers. 36, over and over. The video was gone. The GoPro I wore was corrupted. Water damage, all of it. But the backup SD in my second bag had one frame. One, a still, a shape between trees, tall, human-ish, long arms, no mouth, no legs visible, eyes faint, pale, almost yellow. And behind it, the bone circles, still clean, still perfect, spinning just a little too fast for the wind to explain. They asked me questions. How did it move? Where did it come from? What do I remember? I told them it doesn't move. The world moves around it. I don't think they understood. I'm back in the city now. Sort of. I wear headphones all day. They say I'm not deaf, that I passed the tests. But I can't hear knocking anymore. Not doors, not wood, not people. But I feel it. Every night in my ribs. Tap, tap, tap. Like it's tracing the inside of my chest. Like I'm the new loop. Like I'm being arranged. And I think I understand now Stan was right. In Denali, nothing makes noise unless it wants to be heard. So if you hear tapping, and it circles you, and you think it's just the wind, check again. Because it might not want to hurt you. Not yet. It might just want to see how long you last. And when you finally speak, when you finally call for help, that's when the circle finishes. And it begins again. I think what really got me with this one was how quiet it was. Like, yeah, there's the knocking, but it's not loud. It's not violent. It's steady. It's the rhythm that messes with you. The way it just keeps going. Like it's not trying to scare you, it's trying to outlast you. And maybe that's worse. And the thing is, it doesn't break in. It doesn't chase. It just waits. It moves in circles. And I keep thinking about that line once you've been seen the circle starts. Because it feels like something that doesn't want to kill you. It wants to unravel you. Quietly. Patiently. Like it knows you'll come apart on your own if it just keeps walking. If you're still here, thanks for sticking around. Seriously. These aren't easy stories. They're slow burns. They crawl under your skin and just stay. If this one made you feel anything uneasy, creeped out like you might rethink that tapping sound at night, drop a like. And if you want more stories that don't just jump out and scream boo, but kind of haunt the corners for a while, hit subscribe. You'll be in good company. My name is Cody Jameson. I grew up in South Dakota, in a house where nothing came before discipline, and the forest was the only place you could be loud without anyone hearing. Hunting wasn't a sport. It was the only language I shared with my father. He taught me to read wind before words, how to listen for movement in silence, and how to track something that didn't want to be followed. I was good at it. So was my brother Levi, at least in his own way. He was younger than me by 3 years and never stopped moving, talking, fiddling, tapping the rifle stock like a nervous tick. But when we hunted together, he quieted. The woods made him still. That's why it worked. We'd been going out together every fall since I was 18. Always the Black Hills, always Trail 73. It became a ritual. Pack light hike, deep camp near the Hollow Run Ridge. Not marked on the maps, but Dad taught us how to find it. Third ridge after the split pine, follow the slope north until the air goes colder than it should. Hollow Run wasn't a name on a sign. It was a space, a shape, a silence. We were used to it. Until this year. This year everything was colder before we even got there. It started with the man on the fire road. We'd stopped at the last ranger outpost to check in, grab a new print of the trail survey. But there was a man standing dead center in the gravel path. Tall, shoulders pulled back like he hadn't sat down in a week. Long braid, grey-red flannel boots that hadn't been shined in years but weren't worn either. His eyes were strange, dry, like they weren't made for blinking. I slowed the truck, rolled the window down. "Hey there, sir. Everything all right?" The man didn't answer right away. Then he took one step forward and said in a voice that didn't match his lungs, "You're going Hollow Run." It wasn't a question, just a statement wrapped around a warning. I nodded. "Yeah, just for a few days. Looking for elk. Shouldn't be too deep." The man didn't smile, didn't frown, just said, "Don't go past the ridge after sundown." Nothing does. Not even the things with teeth. Levi laughed quietly beside me, like he was trying to be polite but couldn't help himself. I nodded, thanked the man, drove around him slowly. The mirror caught his figure until the dust swallowed it. Creepy, Levi said. "Think he's a ranger or like one of those forest prophet types?" I shrugged. Maybe just a guy who's seen too much. I didn't mention the way my hands wouldn't stop tingling on the wheel, or how my left eye had started twitching the second we passed him. We reached the hollow by late afternoon. The sun dipped too fast. The cold was tight and uneven, like something was leaning on your shoulders but not your chest. We found the old slope beneath the third ridge, pitched the tent, made a small fire. Nothing felt wrong. Not yet. The trees were taller here, close. Their bark black, not scorched, not mossed, just dark, like something had been scraped off them, like the color had been bled away. We ate. We didn't talk much. Levi checked his rifle 3 times before zipping into his bag. I stayed up listening to the silence. It wasn't normal quiet. It was shaped, controlled, like something was letting it exist. I don't remember falling asleep, but I remember waking. Not to a noise, but to an absence, like the air had been torn. I sat up, blinking into the dark. Levi was already awake, half-zipped from his bag, flashlight in hand. You hear that he asked, like a tree got hit. But nothing fell. I nodded, unzipped. We stepped outside. The air felt thicker, like someone had been breathing over your skin for too long. There were no broken branches, no drag marks, but in the canopy far above, the trees were moving. Not together, not in gusts, but one by one in a wide, slow circle. The tops of the pines shifted like gears, clockwise deliberate, like something was tracing a path above without ever touching the ground. I swept the flashlight across the base of the forest. Nothing. Just black trunks, and deeper black between them. Levi whispered, "How's it moving like that?" Without shaking the base, I didn't answer. We didn't sleep the rest of the night. The sun came slow. Too slow. The cold never broke. When the light finally touched the ridge, it looked thinner. Less real. Like someone had taken the color out of the air and left it dry and flat. We packed up fast. I didn't say it, but I wanted higher ground. Instinct. Or maybe something worse. 20 meters from where we'd slept, we found the buck. Lying in a bed of frost, eyes open. No flies, no tracks, no sound. The body was intact, but wrong. Its ribs had been opened from the inside. Not broken, just separated. Like something had reached into its lungs and peeled them outward. There were no bite marks, no claw tears, no punctures. Just smooth, bloodless meat folded back like pages. The legs were still straight, the spine unbroken. It hadn't fought, or if it had, the forest didn't care to remember. Levi stared for a long time. Then he muttered, "What kind of thing eats without using its mouth?" I didn't have an answer. We moved camp, higher. I set perimeter wire, cans, hooks, tied a blade to the flap. I didn't know what I expected, but I knew we weren't alone. That night, Levi didn't sleep. He just sat up, sack to the tent wall, eyes darting every time the fire popped. "It's not on the ground," he whispered once. "It doesn't move like we do." I didn't ask what he meant. I think I already knew. At 2:17 a.m., Levi stood. Got a piss. I nodded, eyes half closed. I heard the zipper, the crunch of frost. Then, nothing. 5 minutes, 10, 20. I called his name. No answer. I stepped out. His boots were by the tent flap, side by side. Clean, socks tucked inside. No drag marks, no prints. Just air. I ran 50 yards in every direction. Screamed until my chest tore. Fired a round into the sky. Then 2 more. Nothing moved. Not even the damn birds. Just me alone, in a place that didn't want to echo anymore. I climbed the nearest tree, held the rifle like a cross, bit the inside of my cheek until I tasted metal. That's when it started. The voice. Cody. Soft, familiar. Cody. Help me. Levi's voice, but not. Too smooth, too empty. Like someone playing back a sentence they didn't understand. Cody, please. It hurts. I shut my eyes. Bit harder. The voice changed. Deeper. Rougher. Cody. I said, help me. The words cracked on the last syllable, like they were chewed before they were spoken. I held my breath. Something scraped the bark below. Not climbing. Just brushing. Slowly. Around the trunk, then away. I didn't move. I didn't speak. Not for hours. When the sun came, I climbed down and ran. I didn't pack, didn't check bearings. I just ran. No compass, no trail, just instinct clawing at my legs to go. Go anywhere but down. The frost cracked under me but didn't respond. The forest didn't push back. It let me move, and that scared me more than anything. Every few minutes I felt it again. Not a touch, not a sound, just a presence brushing the back of my neck like someone breathing their shape into me. I turned around once. Just once. On the nearest tree, 6 feet up, there was a vertical mark. Sharp, fresh, one clean line like a tally. I didn't stop again. But I knew I was being counted. The next time I looked back, there were 2, then 3. By the time I reached the ridgeline, I couldn't feel my legs, but the forest wasn't finished. I passed a patch of ground where a dozen black birds stood perfectly still. Not crows, not ravens, just shapes with feathers, all facing the same direction, away from me, into the trees, not moving, not breathing, just posed, like they were listening or waiting for instruction. I screamed at them. They didn't flinch. I threw a rock. One blinked, just one. Then they all scattered at once, not up, but sideways, into the dark, like they knew where to go, and it wasn't the sky. I kept running. The terrain shifted underfoot branches, rising at angles that didn't match the slope. I stumbled more than once. Every time I looked up, I thought I saw something just beyond the trees. A flicker, a shape, a shoulder turning. But the moment I blinked, it was gone. Like the forest was folding over itself, covering its own footsteps. I started crying without knowing. The tears froze against my face before they fell. My voice cracked into something I didn't recognize. I didn't call Levi's name anymore. I think deep down I knew I wasn't supposed to. I don't know how long I ran before I saw the ranger station. Maybe 4 miles. Maybe forever. It didn't feel like rescue. It felt like a pause. The lights were on. The antenna spun. The door opened without sound. 2 men stood inside. One younger, one gray-bearded. Both stared at me like they'd never seen someone arrive from the direction I came. Name one of them asked. I opened my mouth. My lips cracked. No sound came out. Not because I couldn't speak, but because my name didn't feel like it belonged anymore. It took me 3 minutes to say Cody, I think. They gave me water, blankets, asked about Levi. I told them, as much as I could. They didn't interrupt, but they didn't write anything down either. That night I didn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Levi's mouth move, but the voice came out of mine. Like whatever was out there had been watching more than just him. Like it needed me to learn him, and him to learn me. The next day the search started. Drones, dogs, nothing. No gear, no prints, no blood. Just one thing, a clump of dark grey fur stuck on a branch, 12 feet off the ground. No match, no species, just texture and air and the scent of static electricity. They sent me home after a week, back to walls, back to sound. But the trees came too. In my dreams, they breathe, they don't sway, they inhale, they press in. Sometimes I wake up standing by the window, feet bare, ears ringing. One night, I found my boots beside my bed, lined up, socks tucked in, just like Levi's. 2 nights ago, my phone rang. No number, just static. Then a voice. Cody. I'm back now. It was Levi, but not the way he ever sounded. It was the way I sound. Recorded, echoed, played back wrong. I opened my phone. There was a file in my audio recorder app. I never use that app. The file name was Levi. It wasn't audio, it was video, 4 seconds long. I pressed play. It was me, sitting cross-legged in the trees, holding my hunting knife, eyes open, mouth moving. But no sound. The light behind me was flickering. The trees were shifting in a circle above my head. I don't remember recording it. I don't remember being there. But I do remember the exact words my mouth was forming, because I watched my lips shape them. Cody, please, help me. You ever hear something that almost sounds human, but just misses? Like the tone's right, the words are right, but it lands wrong. That's what stuck with me about this one. The thing in the woods, it doesn't chase, it doesn't scream. It just waits, it listens, it learns, it takes its time figuring out how to sound like us before it even tries to touch us. And Levi, man, the way he just unthreads from the story and then comes back as a voice, a sound file, a video, but never fully real again. That's the part that got under my skin. Because it means being lost isn't the end. It's the beginning of being rewritten. I don't know if Cody made it out, not all the way. I think that's the whole point. Whatever's in those woods doesn't need to kill you. It just needs you to let go of the name you had. Thanks for hanging in with me through that one. If you felt it, if it made you pause even for a second, go ahead and tap like. And if you want more stories that don't scream in your face, but just sit there and wait for you to notice them, hit subscribe. I'll keep telling them as long as something keeps watching. My name is Sam Blake. I've said that out loud 100 times. Every morning, every evaluation, every recorded session. My name is Sam Blake. I am 27 years old. I am the only one left. They nod when I say that. They mark it down. They say I'm progressing. They say grounding statements help re-establish a baseline. But the problem is I only started calling myself Sam again after Aaron forgot who I was. And I'm not sure if that means I got better, or that whatever it was got smarter. We weren't supposed to go that far in. Not for real. Not without permits or a radio. But Jake had this theory about tourist trails contaminating the real forest energy. And Marcus had just come back from 2 months in Utah high on naturalism and no signal zones. So when Aaron found an unlisted basin in an old Civilian Conservation Corps log, something called Gregory's Hollow, scratched into yellowed paper from 1942, it felt like a dare. It wasn't on any new maps. It wasn't even in ranger databases. Probably dried up, Marcus said. Nothing's there. I've thought about that phrase a lot since. Nothing's there, like it was waiting for a shape, a space, a gap it could grow into. We hiked in through the north shoulder of the Smoky Mountains cut-off trail by day 2. No phone service, no signal, no red markers, just trees that leaned in slightly too far, and soil that stayed soft even after the rain passed. We found the hollow on day 3. It wasn't impressive, just a dip in the earth, ringed by thin trees and a moss-covered slope. But it was quiet. Heavy quiet. Jake said it felt cleansed. Marcus joked about sacred ground. Aaron just smiled and started unpacking. We pitched 3 tents in a triangle, hung our food bag from a branch, and built a fire circle out of old shale. That night we drank bourbon from the bottle and told lies like we weren't scared of anything but raccoons. The first thing that went wrong didn't feel wrong, not immediately. The food bag started swinging. Not hard, just enough to draw the eye. Left then right, but there was no wind, no rustle. The fire wasn't flickering. The branches above were still. I said maybe it was sagging rope. Marcus nodded, but Aaron got up, walked to the base of the tree, looked up. Feels like it's being tugged, he said. No one responded. Not then. A few minutes later we heard it. Metal on stone, a scraping sound, not sharp, Heavy, like something dull being dragged in a wide, slow arc. Jake stood. You hear that Marcus turned. Yeah. What the hell is that? Aaron's face was pale. Is someone dragging a pipe? I shook my head. No roads out here. The sound faded, like it had passed through, not toward us. That made it worse. The next morning, Marcus was gone. His boots were gone, but not his bag. His flashlight was still zipped inside his tent. We waited, called, searched a radius. After an hour, Jake spotted something on the side of a tree. No way, he said. It was Marcus's hunting knife, buried into the bark, but not at waist level, not even overhead. It was embedded 8 feet up, angled downward. The blood was dry, and above the knife there were smears, wide, thick, like something had been wiped downward. Jake stared for a long time, then said, "You'd have to be standing on someone's shoulders, or hanging, or..." He didn't finish. We moved camp, packed in silence, walked until our legs hurt. I carved a mark into one of the birch trunks, deep, 3 horizontal lines. When we stopped, I marked again. Same pattern. We pitched on higher ground, built a new fire ring, ate in silence, slept in shifts. In the morning, Aaron screamed. We'd walked 4 hours, maybe more, but we were back. Gregory's Hollow, the original fire circle, the same slope. My birch marker was there, but the bark was peeled clean, and the rings of the trunk had been carved around it. Concentric, precise, like something had redrawn the tree around my cuts. "It's folding the forest," Jake whispered, like turning it back in on itself. We didn't argue. There was nothing to argue with. We tried again, this time marking every 10th tree with paracord. Bright orange. But the ribbons vanished, or changed places, or grew tight like they were being pulled from inside the bark. That night, I barely slept. Jake took first watch. At 3:12 a.m., I heard his tent unzip. Then nothing. I opened my own flap, shone the light. He was lying face down on the dirt, twitching. Not like a seizure, not uncontrolled. It looked staged. Every motion was sharp, folded, like someone puppeteering the muscle without understanding where it was supposed to go. I dropped beside him, rolled him over. His face was calm, eyes glassy, but his mouth was moving. "It touched me," he whispered. Not like people touch, like it saw through the skin, like it didn't believe the shape. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't ask. His arms folded in elbows backward. His shoulder popped. I screamed. Then he stopped breathing. I don't remember pulling Jake's body into the tent. I just remember zipping it shut and sitting outside, holding the flashlight like it meant something. Aaron didn't ask. He was shaking, eyes stuck wide. His lips moved sometimes, but no sound came out. We waited for morning, but I'm not sure morning came. The light changed, yes, but the air stayed heavy, and the trees kept leaning in like they were watching. Around noon, we found the sledge marker, a pair of antlers, real, huge, planted into the soil, points up. Wrapped around them, soaked through, was Marcus's jacket. But it wasn't draped, it was sewn shut at the sleeves, sewn across the back, pinned into the goring curve of the bone, like someone had been pressed inside it and sealed. I puked. Aaron dropped to his knees and didn't get up for a while. We didn't speak. What could we say? That someone was dressing dead things in the clothes of the missing, that a forest with no wind had started to smell like muscle. We tried to leave. Again. Didn't matter. Hours of walking, dozens of turns, always the same hollow. Same trees, the old fire ring, now broken and rebuilt in a different shape. The shale had been placed vertically, tightly, like vertebrae. And in the center, crouched low, was the thing. It didn't rise when we approached. It didn't move. It just crawled, limbs long white stretched like wire under skin, its back arched the wrong way. Its head hung between its arms, crowned in a tangle of bleached antlers that scraped the dirt with every step. The sound it made wasn't a growl, it was friction, bone and gravel, like it was trying to pull itself forward by dragging its fear with it. It didn't have a face. Not really. Just two black sockets, so deep they didn't reflect light, like holes meant to catch whatever you let fall out of your eyes. Aaron screamed. I think I did too. But it didn't react. It kept crawling, past us, around us, in a slow spiral like it was drawing its territory with its body. Its antlers cut lines into the moss. Its hands left no prints. When it was gone, we were on our knees. We didn't remember falling. I don't remember getting up. The next thing I remember is a voice. Not the thing's voice. A human one. A rescuer, a hand on my shoulder. Light too bright to be real. Then warmth, hospital warmth. Fluorescent tubes, clipboards. My name on a form. Samuel Blake. I wrote it. I said it. I believed it. Until Aaron called me Marcus. He didn't mean to, but it slipped out. He's okay, he told the nurse. Marcus is okay. Then he corrected. I mean, Sam. Sorry, Sam. I was wearing Marcus's jacket. I never put it on. I never touched it. But it was zipped up, tight, sewn at the cuffs. No one noticed. I didn't say anything. I've tried to burn it twice. It never catches. They say I'm getting better. That I survived something unexplainable. That trauma rewrites memory. But I don't think I'm misremembering. I think I'm being replaced. Last night I got a package in the mail. No return address. Inside a piece of antler, curved, smooth, and wrapped around it a strip of red cloth, stitched at the edge. My initials on the tag, but I've never owned anything red. Jake had a drone. He clipped it to a tree before we lost him. We found the footage. One frame, just one. It shows a body, on all fours, crawling, gnarled antlers dragging furrows in the ground. Skin too tight, fabric hanging from the horns, the red jacket. The thing moves in a spiral, then stops, looks up, straight at the lens. Its sockets catch nothing. But I swear I saw my own face in them. Not reflected. Just waiting. There's something about spirals that messes with your head, because when something circles you long enough, you start wondering, is it trying to trap you or trying to become you? And that's what hit me about this one. It's not just a creature in the woods. It's the idea of being worn, of being rearranged until you still answer to your name, but something else is wearing your skin underneath. I think what really haunted me was the moment Aaron slipped. The way he called Sam Marcus without meaning to. Like the forest didn't need to kill anyone, it just needed to shuffle the pieces. Take the jacket, take the voice, take enough details and let the rest of the world do the forgetting for it. If you made it to the end of that one, thanks. These stories don't scream at you. They whisper until you forget what your own voice sounds like. So if this one stayed with you, if it made you second-guess something small like a coat you don't remember putting on, drop a like. And if you want more stories that crawl instead of run, you know what to do. Hit subscribe, I'll be here. Still me, I think. My name is Calder Nash, Unit 9 Forest Fire Crew. People always think we're heroes. Helmets, ash-smeared faces, dripping sweat and flames behind us. That's not how it works. We don't run into fires. We make them. Controlled burns, fire breaks. It's preventive, calculated destruction. Clean up the dead stuff before nature burns it wrong. But there was nothing clean about San Juan. No math, no flame, just something already there, already burning. and we walked right into it with drip torches and canned beans like it needed our help. I've been fighting fires for 6 years. I know the color of heat, the texture of smoke. But what we saw in Colorado didn't have heat. It didn't have temperature. It had intention. That's different. That doesn't belong to nature. The first day was fine. Textbook. Cut line through the underbrush. Flag the perimeter. Run a perimeter test burn. The wind was good. Dry. Perfect for clearance. Red Hour Sawyer was walking point. Quiet guy. Navajo. Never talked unless something needed saying. He stopped, suddenly raised a fist the way we do when we see a snag or snake. But there was nothing. Just a ring of ground, blackened, charred in a perfect circle, maybe 30 feet wide. But no ash, no smoke. The pine needles around it hadn't shifted. The trees cast shadows straight in. The center held a stone slab cracked and dark like it had been struck by lightning, but the trees weren't scorched. Bones were arranged in a tight spiral, not human, small, bird rabbit, something in between. Pine resin sat frozen mid-drip on the edge of the slab. Not dried, frozen, like it never hit the ground. And under all that, a symbol. Not carved, not painted, just present. Burned in a way that didn't affect the surface, like it had been tattooed beneath the stone's skin. Red didn't move. He just looked at it and said, "This place isn't ours." Not anymore. Bryce, youngest in the crew, laughed, called it desert hiker voodoo. I looked at him. He looked back like he didn't understand why no one else was laughing. That's when I knew something was wrong. Bryce didn't show up to chow that night. No one saw him leave camp. His boots were gone, his canteen full. We searched. Joe and I fanned out 200 meters. Red and Nico went west. Nothing. No trail, no snap of brush, no heat signature on thermal. I spotted the boots the next morning, 10 yards from camp, still upright, laced, standing perfectly still on a patch of soil that had gone glassy. Not scorched, fused, like something burned the moisture out of the dirt itself. The boots were melted around the tongue. No foot, no blood. And beneath them, 2 blackened impressions. Not prints, impressions, as if the soles of his feet had pushed through from the inside, branding the dirt from below. Nico muttered, "Where the hell is the rest of him?" Red just said he's gone. Just gone. The weirdest part? No smell, no ozone, no cooked leather, just a feeling, like static, like the ground still wanted more. We should have called evac, but there was no signal. Radios wouldn't connect. Joe climbed a ridge with the sat phone, but the signal bounced. Every direction led back into the hollow. We moved camp just to feel like we were doing something. By that night, Nico started sweating. He couldn't get warm, kept saying the air was moving weird. We all felt it wind that didn't touch the trees, like pressure washing against skin, but not against leaves. Like something whispering into blood, not ears. The fire pit wouldn't light, not even with accelerant. But Nico started glowing. I mean that. His skin shimmered in the dark like heat lines off asphalt. Then he screamed. Not loud, just sharp. One note, his back arched, skin cracked at the shoulders. Then, nothing. His body fell forward, hissed against the dirt. The ground steamed, but no flames came. His skin peeled like fruit. His mouth burned shut. His eyes didn't melt. They vanished. Joe dropped to her knees. Red pulled her back. "Don't touch him. You'll feel it too." I checked Nico's vitals. Nothing. But the ground below him was warm. Alive warm. Pulse warm. Not from him. From beneath. From something else. We didn't bury him. There was nothing left to bury. Just clothes and something wet smeared across the fabric. Red said a prayer in Dine. Joe just stared. I couldn't stop looking at my own hand, the one I'd reached out with. It wasn't burned, but the veins looked darker, like something had crawled into them and cooled down inside. I flexed it. It twitched wrong, like my tendons weren't mine anymore. We tried again the next day, packed fast, left gear, moved uphill. GPS kept glitching. Not drifting, glitching, jumping between coordinates. We passed the same pine tree 5 times, could tell by the knot shaped like a screaming mouth. Red marked it with oil chalk. The mark moved between trunks the next time we saw it. Jo started crying. Not loud, just tears slipping while she walked. The wind came back, but only in short pulses, like something exhaling. Every gust left us drier, hungrier, like the air was pulling heat out of our marrow. Red said, "It's hunting now." Jo looked back. What is it?" He didn't answer. That night, Jo vanished. I saw it happen. We were sitting by what we thought was a stream, but the water moved in reverse, ripples pulling toward a central point. Jo stood up, said she heard Bryce calling her. I grabbed her arm. She turned. Then something pulled, not from the front, not from behind, from inside. Her spine arched backward. Her face split in pain but not fear. Her mouth stayed open. Soundless. Then gone, just gone, like she got yanked through a crack in the air that no one else could see. I grabbed her jacket as she disappeared. My fingers smoked. No flame, just light. My skin lit up, not the surface, but the bone beneath. I saw my own phalanges, outlined under flesh like X-ray film, left too long in the sun. I passed out, woke up an hour later, alone. Red gone, Jo gone, Nico gone, Bryce long gone, just me. The sky above the ridge spun slowly, clouds moving in a spiral that didn't match the wind. The trees leaned inward. The heat didn't rise, it coiled. I ran, no direction, just movement. Every step felt like walking on lungs. The dirt gave slightly, then firmed like it was learning my weight. I passed the ring again, the same one from day one, except now the bones were rearranged. The spiral was tighter, the center stone was darker, and in the middle something moved, a shimmer, like air over flame. But there was no fire, just something hot without heat. I turned away, then stopped. Something was following me, not footsteps, just the sense of being watched by something that didn't have eyes, but remembered having them once. I kept walking. I don't remember how I got out. The doctors say I collapsed on a trail 2 miles from the highway. They found me with severe dehydration, 3rd-degree burns on 60% of my body. No soot in my lungs, no signs of inhalation, no surface charring, just tissue damage that started beneath the skin. They keep asking me what happened. I keep saying nothing. But last night, I had a dream. The trees around my hospital window were bending slow, wide arcs, like they were forming a circle around the building. And in the center of the ring, something bright was waiting to finish what it started. They told me I was lucky to be alive. They wrapped me like I was done cooking, like I needed to be sealed before whatever happened inside me could spread. My lips wouldn't move for days. They'd melted shut, then regrew too tight. They cut them open. I bled smoke. No one said anything. The nurses kept the windows shut. The lights in my room flicker sometimes, but never when the doctors are in. Only when I'm alone. I started hearing things under the floor. First just cracks, then a sound like a low breath rising through concrete. Then the walls got warm. Not hot, just alive. Like they were exhaling my own temperature back into me. I asked for mirrors. They said no. Too upsetting. But one night I caught my reflection in the metal frame of the IV pole. My eyes looked normal. My face didn't. There were shadows moving under the skin, like something trying to settle. I blinked. They stopped, or pretended to. They said my name was Calder Nash. I nodded, but it didn't feel right. Not because I'd forgotten it, because I still heard it being called from the woods, from behind my spine, from inside the drip of the IV when it hissed. Then they brought me the satellite photos, said it was for closure, the imagery from the burn site, high-altitude thermal scans. The text didn't understand it. They said the readings showed a spiral, a moving heat zone 20 meters wide, making a perfect circular path, but not reacting to wind, not dispersing, just turning, like it was drawing something. It passed over our original camp, over the place where Nico fell, over the ridge, over where they found me. I asked what was at the center. They said nothing, just a stone. And then the text said something else, off script, quiet. We sent in a team 3 days ago. The ring is still there, intact, unchanged, but it's growing, only by inches, but it's bigger. I didn't answer. I couldn't, because that morning I'd woken up with black dirt under my nails. Same smell, same weight, and the soles of my feet were pink, raw, like something had burned its way out of me. The final frame they showed me wasn't satellite. It was drone, recovered from a lost crew. Just a few seconds of footage. The camera spins, trees, ash, then it steadies. And there it is, a shimmer, like heat off a corpse. And in the center movement, bones, antlers, a figure half visible, crawling, no flame, no breath, just motion. The antlers drag across stone, and behind it blackened footprints. Same size as mine, same gait, same pace, only one difference. They point inward, not outward. I'm not sure I ever left that ring. Maybe I'm just what's left when fire forgets how to burn. Or maybe I'm still catching, still smoldering, still waiting for something to finish lighting me from the inside out. I think what scared me most in this one wasn't the fire. It's the lack of fire. The idea that something can burn you completely without heat, without light, that it doesn't need oxygen, doesn't need permission. It just decides you're next and starts from the inside. And that spiral, it's not a pattern, it's a method. It chooses where to move, who to reach, and it doesn't need to rush because we walk right into it thinking we're the ones in control. I don't know if Calder ever really got out. I don't think that story was told by someone who left. I think it was told by what remains. Thanks for listening to this one. These stories aren't loud, but they linger. If it burned something into your thoughts, something small, something wrong, drop a like. And if you want more stories like this one's that don't always scream, just circle you until you can't look away. Hit subscribe. You know where to find me. Still here. That makes sense. Some stories don't end when they're done being told. They just stop speaking out loud. But they're still there, folding themselves behind your thoughts, waiting. You might not feel it right away. Maybe just a chill when you turn off the light. A name you don't remember hearing but recognize anyway. Or the way your bedroom mirror doesn't quite reflect the shape you expected. That's okay. It never happens all at once. The woods don't chase. They watch. They wait for you to wander back. And you always do. So if you start hearing something breathing in the quiet, if you notice a patch of floor that stays warm even in winter, or if you find dirt in your shoes from a place you don't remember walking, don't say anything. Don't move too fast. And above all, don't answer. Because once it remembers your name, it'll never stop calling. Good night.